today's session with Vritamalika Sutra by Varenya.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Atah Grantaratnamalika Stotram Krishnam Vidyapati Jnatva Purnabodhadi Sadgurun Jayatirtha Munim Natva Vaksheham Grantamalikam Narayanena Vyatena Preditastatva Samvide Dantan Madhvashchakaraso Saptatrimshadamandadihi Gita Bhashyam Vidayado Pratamam Dushtiram Hare Bhashya Anubhashye Chakre Takyanu Vyakyanamuttamam Brahmanalakshanam Nama Tata Lakshana Samvikam Upadhikandanam Chakre Mayavadasya Kandanam Chakre Prapanchamityadvamana Kandanamucchadihi Chakara Tattva Sankhyakyam Sadanam Vishnu Darshanim Grantam Tattva Vivekakyam Tattvodyotam Hare Priyam Karma Nirnaya Namanam Grantam Nyayartha Brumhidam Sutatirtayatischakre Vishnu Tattva Nirnayam Rubbashyam Chakaraso Sarva Vedartha Nirnayam Aitareyam Teitiriyam Brihadadanyakameva cha Ishavasyam Katakam cha Chandogya Atharvane tata Mandokyam Nama Shatprashnam Tata Talavakarakam Chakre Bhashyani Divyani Dashopanishadam Guruhu Nirnayam Sarva Shastranam Gita Tatparya Samvikam Sanyaya Vivritim Nama Nyaya Shastra Nikrintanam Narasimhanakastotram Chakre Yamakabharatam Dvadashastotram Akarot Krishnamritamaharnavam Tantrasaram Chakaraso Sadachara Smridhim Sudhihi Shrimadbhagavatasya P Tatparyam Gnana Sadhanam Mahabharata Tatparya Nirnayam Samchayachidam Iti Pranavakalpam cha Pranavartha Prakashakam Jayanti Nirnayam Chakre Devaki Garbhajanmanaha Krishnasya Krishna Bhaktoyam Dvaipayana Karabjabuhu Trimshat Saharsa Sankhyatam Dvarikam Tushkidam Hare Yetesham Pata Matrena Madhvesha Priyate Harihi Vyasatirthayatirnama Madhva Granthanukirtanam Krutavan Gnana Matrena Priyate Kamalapatihi Iti Shri Vyasarajatirtha Krutam Shri Grantaratnamalika Stotram Sampurnam Shri Krishnarpanamastu Shri Madhvesharpanamastu.
So we have a lot of people here. So today's session, I think we should continue with yesterday's lecture series on Tattvavada. A question and answer session in today's setup would be difficult. We would probably do that as a bonus session tomorrow, like we had discussed yesterday. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
So in your Panchanga, Madhva Navami is when? Is it tomorrow or day after?
Day after. Today is Sashti for us.
Ah.
Today is Sashti.
And
So
today is Friday evening for you, right? Right now it's Friday evening for you.
Saturday.
Saturday, here it is Sunday. Oh, okay. Saturday evening.
This time there is no difference in the Tithi. We are also observing Madhva Navami on Tuesday as the same as San Diego.
Tuesday, yeah? Okay, okay. But actually, yesterday one of my friends said that this Puttigemutta Panchanga has written Madhva Navami as 26th or something. Let me just share that with you.
correct. Correct. That's Monday for us.
That is when it is then?
Monday. Monday is Madhva Navami.
I see. Okay. Okay, so Mahidaji, today is the last session, or do we have one tomorrow as well?
We will have one tomorrow if it is convenient for you, since you're traveling. You are the one who should be confirming. But we are okay in sending out the bonus reminder.
Okay. Yeah, we can do tomorrow, 8 o'clock. No, I'll reach that place around 6:30 in the morning. 8 to 9 we can do, I think. Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Hmm.
I think then I'll send out the invitation that we're extending it by a day, only to review the remaining questions in that spreadsheet. And that way we keep it simple. Maybe we'll stick to the notes and maybe we can continue with yesterday's discussion on the Tattvavada notes that we were sharing.
Okay, so what is today's agenda?
We wanted to cover some other questions, but given the setup, it may not be easy for me today.
Why?
We're having like 12 families, 13 families today with us. So, do you still want to go over the questions? If that is the
No,
case,
you tell me. Naan Atithi, ನೀವು ನನ್ನ ಕರೆದಿರೋದು. So whatever you want to do, I'll do it. No problem.
Yeah, let's cover the tenets, the tenets.
Okay. Let's continue from where we were doing yesterday, no? Okay. So give me a minute. Yeah, Bangalore has become very cold this winter, and very cold for us is 18 degrees. So I should not be saying that to you, I suppose, right? What is it like there? Almost below freezing point? Is that how it is?
So in Boston this morning it was minus 22 degrees centigrade.
Yeah, Boston is a different thing. One of my students is doing his postdoc at Harvard Medical School, and I don't know how you people even survive there. When I was in Delhi, see, to me at least, anything below 20 degrees is extremely cold. So, no, not minus 20 degree. I'm saying plus 20 degree. Yeah.
We are in San Diego.
Uh,
We are in San Diego, and it's always pleasant here in San Diego. So we never go below, in terms of centigrade, maybe 7 or 8 degrees in the night, and in the morning it's always just about 14 or 15 degrees Celsius. So it's very pleasant. Even in summer, it's cool, and it's better than the rest of the US. It's a temperate climate. So,
But that part is always like that, no? Always like that. That part of the US is always much better compared to the other coasts. Yeah.
following the money kind of principles is very easy.
ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಗುರುಗಳು ಹೇಳೋರು ಚಳಿಗಾಲ ಅದು ಅದು ಮೈಲ್ಗೆ ಮಾಡೋರ್ಗ್ ಬಹಳ ಸುಲಭಪ್ಪ, ಮಡಿ ಮಾಡೋರ್ಗ್ ಬಹಳ ಕಷ್ಟ ಅದು ಅಂತ. ಅದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ನಮ್ಗೆಲ್ಲ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೀರಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಅದು. I cannot tell you everything here, but oh my god, ಚಳಿ ನಮಗ್ ಬಹಳ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಬಹಳ ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ. Okay, let's start then. So English, right? Yeah. So
Yeah. Bilingual.
come again. I can't hear you actually.
Yeah, well, we keep muting because as a group, the kids and everything, so we're trying to reduce the noise on the bridge. But yeah, bilingual, we have been using that for some time, but yeah, please continue with English. Not bilingual, okay. Not so bilingual, so we are reading English.
Okay, no problem. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. अस्पष्टदोषगन्धाय कल्याणगुणसिन्धवे नमो नमो भक्तमुक्तिदायिने शेषायिने शमयन् भवसन्तापं प्रमयन् साधुजातकान् कष्टमेघः कृपा दृष्टिवृष्ट्या पुष्णातु मामपि श्रीमदानन्दतीर्थार्य पादपङ्कजरेणवः पवित्रयन्तु मां नित्यं पापपाटनपण्डिताः आनन्दतीर्थोपदिष्टो निधिर्नारायणाह्वयः प्रदर्शितो येन सम्यक् जयतीर्थं तमाश्रये यो व्यासमुदितावाग्निः सच्चास्त्रमरतासः ददाह कुमतारण्यं प्रकाशाय तमाश्रये दुर्वादिध्वान्तर्वये वैष्णवेन्दीवरेन्दवे श्रीराघवेन्द्रपुरवे नमोऽत्यन्तदयालवे आपादमौलिपर्यन्तं गुरूणामाकृतिं स्मरेत् तेन विघ्नाः प्रणश्यन्ति सिद्ध्यन्ति च मनोरथाः श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः. Okay, so we will continue yesterday's discussion. So yesterday we mostly looked at the positioning of Jiva as an ontological entity. What is Jiva and what is Ishvara and how do they interact? This is what we looked at yesterday. Now we will continue that discussion today. Am I audible? Okay. We'll continue that discussion today, and I thought I will talk about an often misunderstood idea in Shastra. A lot of people get this question all the time, and given quite a bit of thought in this particular direction. The question is as follows. In our understanding, it is said that jivas are asvatantra. Okay, there is just now the kid talked about, chanted Grantamalika Stotra, and one of the granthas that Acharya has composed is what is known as Tattvavada, which just lists the ontological concepts in Tattvavada, and the work starts with this particular shloka: Swatantram asvatantrancha dvidham tattvamishyate swatantro bhagavan vishnuhu bhava bhavo dvidha itarat. So Acharya says all the ontological entities in this universe can be put in one of two buckets. One is this Swatantra bucket, the other is the Asvatantra bucket. Swatantram asvatantrancha dvidham tattvamishyate swatantro bhagavan vishnur bhava bhavo dvidha itarat. Now there, yeah, it has been said and understood that Ishvara is the Swatantra entity and everything else is Asvatantra. Okay. Now the question is, so roughly this Swatantra and Asvatantra translates to dependent and independent in English, right? So jivas are dependent entities, or not jivas, everything in this universe except for Ishvara are dependent entities, and Ishvara is an independent entity, is the understanding. If you roughly translate the word Swatantra and Asvatantra to dependence and independence. Now, the most daunting question once one says this is that is, if jiva is dependent. So anyway, so even before going to that question, right, let me elaborate on the actual understanding, right? So jiva is dependent. What does that mean? Srimad Jayatirtha actually gives a definition of what asvatantriya or dependence is in Tattva Sankhyanā itself. Swarupa Pramiti Pravritti Rupa Satta Trividheshu Trivida Sattasu Para Anapekshatvam Swatantram Tad Apekshatvam Aswatantram. So that is the definition that Jayatirtha gives. So to act, to be, and to think, in these three aspects, being adhina, right, to someone else or something else is called as paratantrata, and not being dependent is called swatantrata. Now, if then we have also listened to things like tena vina tranam apena chalati, nothing happens without Ishvara's will, and all that. Now, given all this, we tend to understand ourselves, jivas or dependent entities, like puppets. So we are puppets in the hands of Ishvara. So Ishvara is controlling everything. He is playing the game. So we have this idea, right? Not kapata nataka sutradhari. So okay, there is a puppet, there is a play that is going on, and he is the controller of the play, and we are all puppets in the play. Okay. Now this is the understanding, right? All of you have this sort of an understanding that that we are being controlled by Ishvara. So two questions here, very deep philosophical questions that come up. One, if this is the case, where is the free will? Do we have free will? Okay. The second important question is, if entire thing is orchestrated and it is all controlled by Ishvara and we are puppets, then why are we made to suffer to our actions, for our actions? See, Shastra says that if you do this, you get this, you do that, you get this. Now, if Ishvara controls everything, okay, if Ishvara controls the way we think, if Ishvara controls the way we act, and we are puppets, suppose a puppet murders other puppet in a play, the puppet is not sentenced to a capital punishment because puppet could not think. It was the puppeteer who actually made that puppet kill somebody else. Now, for killing someone else in a play that is controlled totally by puppeteer, the puppet is not given the punishment. Now, if we are puppets in the play that is orchestrated by Ishvara, then why are we made subject to punya and papa? Okay, this is other question that comes. So both of them are related in the sense that if we have free will, and what is it even? See, this somehow we understand this word free will in a way. Oh, we know what free will is, but what is the idea, corresponding idea in Shastras? Does there exist free will? And if Ishvara controls everything, then why are punya papa given to me? Okay, so this question keeps coming up so many times. Okay, I mean, what is the and the other related question is that we say that, oh no, Ishvara does everything in accordance with Jiva Swabhava and all that. See, Jiva has a Swabhava, and again, so some of these things, yeah, I told you this is going, yeah, being recorded. No, one of the other key ideas in Madhva Shastra is that every Jiva is. Yesterday I told you that they are all individual entities, and one of the fundamental concepts of Tattvavada is this idea called Bheda, which means that eternally these entities are different. Again, see, English, I mean, language fails if when one tries to elicit some of these ideas. Bheda is not difference, but anyway, so every jiva is different. Okay, and we also have this idea of Jiva Traividya, which is, yesterday I talked about every jiva is innately happiness, right? Being happiness, and the purpose is to realize oneself, okay, get rid of everything that is not the jiva, jiva, and that is what moksha is. Apparently, there also exists jiva. See, the jivas can actually be placed on a spectrum of different sarupas, right? So now the question is, there are some jivas, or rather the idea is that there are some jivas whose swarupa may not be happiness. Okay, yasya dukhatmako dvesha, the swarupa itself may not have happiness. We have often seen people, right, no matter what we do, they'll always find a reason to crib. My PhD advisor always used to tell me this. I was too young to understand that concept. He always used to tell me that sorrow is a choice. It's so profound. He said, one can always find reasons to be sad and unhappy. Okay, so he used to say sorrow is a choice. So there are people of that sort. No matter what you do, they crib about things. Okay, so that's perhaps because there's no happiness in their swarup or whatever. Anyway, I jumped. But the point is, there is this Swabhavavada that jivas have an innate or implicit Swabhava. Every individual has an implicit Swabhava, and that Swabhava will not be changed. Okay, now the question that is related to again Swatantra is, if Ishvara is Swatantra and Sarvakarta, then why does he let a jiva suffer? Why doesn't he change the Swabhava of a jiva and make everybody good? Okay, so these questions, let's list them, right? The one question is, we talk about Swatantriya, Ishvara is the controller, what happens to free will? If there is no free will and everything is orchestrated, then why are we made to suffer? Why are we subject to our own actions? Why are we responsible for our actions? Okay, and the other thing is, why is that there? If you say that, oh, there is Swabhava and Swabhava is not changed, then why? What is the point of Ishvara being Sarvakarta and all capable, right, omnipotent? That if he cannot change if he or she cannot change the Swabhava. So these are some of the questions that often come up in discussions, right? People have this question, and it gets either they're too subtle and they get ignored at times. So I thought I would talk about these questions and place them in the context of Madhva Shastra and how Acharya has tried to answer these in Anuvyakhana. Right, that is the context for today. Okay, so let us take up the first question of Swatantriya and free will. So here is the Shastric understanding. There are two ideas in Shastra, two concepts in Shastra. One is called the Swatantriya, okay, and the other is called the Kartrutva. By the way, all this that I am talking about is the subject of one Adhikarana in Brahma Sutra called Kartrutva Adhikarana. So it is one small subchapter in Brahma Sutra. It's called the Kartrutva Adhikarana, and these things have been extensively discussed in Sri Vyasatirtha's magnum opus work by name Tattvavada Chandrika. Okay, they have described it in great detail in Kartrutva Adhikarana, and whatever I am talking right now is the content from the Kartrutva Adhikarana. And that's why if you noticed in my today's Mangalacharana, I remembered Sri Vyasatirtha and also Raghavendra Tirtha, because everything that I talk about is the content that is written by both of them. And of course, Tikakritpada, Tattva Prakashika as well. Okay, now in the Kartrutva Adhikarana of Tattvavada Chandrika, here is what the discussion is. This is actually very subtle and little deep. So in Shastras, there are two ideas that have been discussed, and they are separate ideas. And one idea is what is called as Swatantriya. The other idea is what is called as Kartrutva. Okay. Now let me make the statement: the pratignya or the nigamana or the idea is that jivas don't have Swatantriya, but they have Kartrutva. Okay, going back to my analogy of puppets, jivas are not puppets, and there is free will. Now, this may sound contrary to our understanding. We thought everything is orchestrated by Ishvara. Why are you saying that there is no free will? Let me elaborate this in today's discussion. But yeah, so long story short, jivas are not puppets, and there is free will. What does that mean? That means that we do not have Swatantriya, but we do have Kartrutva. Okay. Now, what are these? These are sounds like jargons. I'm just throwing jargons here. What do they actually mean? Now, let's come to this idea of kartrutva for a while. What is kartrutva? Uh, in fact, as I said, no, there is this Brahma Sutra which goes like this: Karta Shastrarthavatvat. So the content that I'm describing today is actually the subject of Kartatva. I just lost you, I suppose. Hello, are you there?
We can hear you, Pratosh.
But I think they just went off. No.
Everybody's there. I think everybody's there on the Zoom.
Okay. Now I can see. I think the screen got frozen for a while. Can you hear me, Mahidharji? You can? Okay, sure. So Kartrutva and Swatantra I was talking about. Yeah. Kartrutva. Kartrutva is Jnana Ichha Kritimatva is the definition of Kartrutva. Jnana Ichha Kritimatva. So what is this? This is the ability to think, the ability to desire, and the ability to act. This is what is called as Kartrutva. So every jiva has an ability to think, an ability to desire, an ability to act. Now, jivas possess an ability to think, possess an ability to act, and possess an ability to desire is a statement that is not totally incorrect, because jivas are themselves the ability to think, are themselves the ability to desire, and themselves the ability to act. So there is this French philosopher, right, Descartes. There is one famous statement that is ascribed to him. I think, therefore I am. That's exactly what Kartrita is. Jiva is Jnana, Jiva is Ichha, and Jiva is Prayatna. Jnatritva, Ichhavatva, and Prayatnavatva is Jiva. So yesterday, remember, I told you that Jivas, we are Jivas, and whatever we refer to as Aham or I is the Jiva, okay? And that Jiva is happiness. Now I add 3 more attributes that Jiva is the ability to think, that Jiva is the ability to act, and that Jiva is the ability to desire. So we exist, or we think, we desire, and we act. Now this capability to think, to act, and to desire is Jiva, right? It's not that it is possessed by Jiva. The very definition of Jiva is an entity that thinks, that desires, that acts. Now, what does GPT does? It can think, it cannot desire, and it cannot act, and that's why it's not Jiva, right? This is my understanding of it. And also there is one other layer of subtlety to it. There is this vritti and Sarupa Jnana will not come to that. Jnana can also be Jada. That's what Shastras have said. And we have demonstrated that the amalgamation of the human knowledge can be offloaded to a Jada, which we call as AI today. That takes us to a different discussion altogether. Let's not go there. So now the ability to think, desire, and act is what Jiva is. And these abilities collectively is what is referred to as the Kartrutva. And Jiva possess Kartrita. Now, free will. So we talk of free will, right? Now, what do you mean by free will? This ability to desire, okay, is what is will. Now, do we have an ability to desire? The answer is yes. Right? It's a subject of everyday experience that we desire all the time. So we decide to. I decide to talk now. You are desiring to listen. That's why you are sitting. That's why I'm talking. And see, jnana begets desire or ichha, and ichha begets prayatna. So first we think, and then depending upon our thinking, we desire, and depending upon our desires, we act. Okay. So this ability to think, to desire, to act, the jnatrata, ichhavatva, and prayatnavatva is what is called as the kartrita. Okay. Now this is innate to every jiva, in the sense that it's not that there is jiva as a container and there is ichha as an attribute in it. Jiva himself or herself is the ability to desire. Okay, Jiva himself or herself is an ontological entity that can think. So I think, therefore I am. I desire, therefore I am. I act, therefore I am. We'll have to add two more sentences to Descartes' statement that we are Jivas because we can think, we can act, we can desire. There's nothing more than these three attributes to a Jiva. Of course, happiness is another attribute, of course, but Jnana, Ichcha, Prayatna is the definition of Jiva. Now, yesterday we said that Jivas exist eternally, right? And Ishvara did not create Jivas, correct? Now, extend this idea with the definition of Jiva being the embodiment of Jnana Ichcha Prayatna. Ishvara does not interfere in Jnana Ichcha Prayatna of Jiva. Is a natural extension. In other words, Ishvara does not determine how we think. Ishvara does not determine how we desire. Ishvara does not determine how we act. It is the innate nature of Jiva to think. Okay, so there is, see, Ishvara does not influence Jiva in the way he thinks. In this sense, I said that there is free will. Okay, now, I mean, you might be having this question, so then what does it mean to say that everything is adhina to Ishvara? There is also this idea of swatantriya, right? You just said that all Jivas are aswatantra. So what is this idea of aswatantriya then? Okay, so before I go to the idea of aswatantriya, let me just spend 5 more minutes on this innate capability of Jiva being the Jnana Ichcha Prayatna, and maybe also ask you questions if you have any, because it's very important that we understand this concept before we move on. Now, since Jivas exist for eternity, Jnana Ichcha Prayatna exists for eternity. Okay, Jivas exist, which means they think. Their ability to think, their ability to desire, and their ability to act exists for eternity. Correct? And Ishvara did not create Jivas. And therefore, Ishvara did not create the ability to think, he did not create the ability to act, and did not create the ability to desire. So now, these two naturally extends to the fact that it is because, or it is since Jiva himself is the ability to desire, we are made to suffer, and or we are made to get the outcomes of our own desires, because there is no external influence. So you are responsible for your actions, you are responsible for your desires, and you are responsible for your thinking, because you are desires, you are thinking, and you are the action. The question that we asked in the beginning of the session, right? If Ishvara controls everything, then if somebody commits a crime, then why is individual jiva made to be a subject to papa punya? So now, since jiva, or since Ishvara is not influencing the way jiva is thinking, see, once we say that jiva is thinking, we cannot, it comes quite naturally that Ishvara has no influence on Jiva Sarupa, because he did not create Jiva Sarupa in the first place. So you think and you act, or in fact, to be precise, you are thinking, and yeah, English language fails here. See, when I say you are thinking, you tend to feel like, there is thinking, there is you, and there are two different things. No. You as an entity is the entity called thinking. Jiva is Ichcha. Okay, and because Jiva is Ichcha, and Ishvara did not create Jiva, Ishvara does not influence the Ichcha or thinking. And therefore, you are completely responsible to yourself. Right? Because you are completely responsible for yourself, you are completely responsible for your thinking as well, because you is equal to thinking. You is equal to desires. You are your desires. Okay. Okay, so therefore you are made responsible for whatever you do, because you are what you are. See, I keep saying this. In today's world, especially in the Western world, one of the fashionable things that all influencers and people who counsel and all these people know, one very strong thing that all of them talk about is respect the individuality. right? So you let people be what they are, let them pursue their passions, don't try to influence on others and all that. No philosophy in the world has respected individuality as much as Madhva Siddhanta does. Acharya says, Bhaved Dimoksho Niyatam Suranam Naiva Suranam Sa Kathanchana Syat. Acharya says, no matter what you do, an individual is going to be individual. Because being an individual, okay, you cannot influence the way somebody thinks, because thinking is somebody. So making somebody think differently boils down to changing someone else. So you can't change anybody, because everybody is eternal and they are individuals. Okay, so no philosophy in the world respects individuality as much as Madhva Siddhanta does. Because Acharya says, Bhinnascha Bhinna Dharmascha Padartha Nikhila Api. Everybody is different as an individual, and this translates to everybody has different thinking, because Jiva is thinking. And everybody has different desires, different likes and dislikes, because having a like and dislike, it's not that you are an individual and you possess likes and dislikes. You are your likes, you are your dislikes, you are your ichha, you are your jnana, and you are your prayatna. Now, with this understanding, we'll have to move on. So now there is one other apparent contradiction that I have to resolve right now. If this is what the case is, so now I declare that there is free will, because we are jivas and we have kartritva. Talking about this from the shastric angle, it means that every jivas have kartata. That's what Bhagavan Badarayana also declares in his Brahma Sutra, karta, shastrartha vatvat. Okay. In fact, in that Adhikarana, no, the question that is asked is, if Jiva cannot think, if Jiva cannot act and desire, why are Shastras prescribing actions to us? No, Shastras say, do Sandhya Vandana, do this, do that, and all that. If we do not have free will, if we are puppets, why is even Shastra prescribing things? Brahma Sutra says, no, who said you are puppets? Karta, you are your desires, you can think, there is free will. Why? That is why the Shastras are prescribing you. Karta Shastrarthavatvat is the Brahma Sutra. Now, one thing that is to be resolved right now is, where does Swatantriya sit in here? Okay, if there is free will, if we can think, if we are our thinking and if we are our desires, why is that that Acharya says Swatantram Aswatantram cha dvidham tattvamishyate Swatantro Bhagavan Vishnu? Why do we understand, why do we say that Tena Vina Trinam Apina Chalati? Everything is controlled, or everything is under the watch of Ishvara, right? We'll have to place that idea within Kartrata, which I'll do in a while. Before that, I think we can spend about 5-10 minutes on, oh, it's already 8:55. It just flies. Okay. There are a few questions. Do we need to address questions on this topic right now and move on, or should I just continue?
Continue. I think the questions have to be taken tomorrow. We'll try to organize that.
Okay. And all these questions that are being posted in the chat window, right? Are you taking note of that? Because they're very nice and interesting questions.
Yeah. And you will be seeing the updated sheet by tomorrow morning.
Okay. Nice questions, right? One is, if Isha is not influencing Jiva's actions, why do we say and believe Naham Karta Harih Karta? Very good question, right? Naham Karta Harih Karta. Once I talk about Swatantra, I'll come to that. How does Swabhava develop for each Jiva? Is there T equal to 0 clean slate start, although Jivas have been there forever? No. See, Swabhava does not develop for each Jiva. Jiva is Swabhava. That is what I'm trying to say. So Jiva is Swabhava. There is no T equal to 0. There is no clean state. Come again?
It's preloaded. Swabhava.
See, don't say preloaded also. No, preloaded is that when a device comes up, somebody has loaded onto it. This is not even loaded. It just exists.
There's no differentiation by nature.
It just exists. See, it's like when I say, see, we should not understand Jiva and Swabhava as two different entities. Jiva is Swabhava. And we should not identify Jiva and desires as two different entities. Jiva is desire. And Jivas exist and therefore desires exist. Even before Okay, so yesterday, no, I don't know if I mentioned this or not. The idea of Srishti, especially for Jivas, is this. Oh, actually, I did know. Getting this particular body is what Srishti is all about. Even before we got the physical body, we existed, and therefore we were thinking, and therefore
Yeah.
we had desires. Because Jivas are desires and thinking, right? That you should never forget about it. But isn't thinking influenced by environment and hereditary? Uh, I'll talk about it. Just give me some time. It's a good question. Why does not Ishvara change the Swabhava of a Jiva, Tamo Yogi into Sattvika Jiva? These are all very good questions. Very, very hard to answer all this in 1 hour, right? Or maybe 7 days or something.
Maybe we'll take it up tomorrow, and we'll try to keep it more free-handed by not recording tomorrow's bonus session. So this is for everybody on the session. We will not be recording tomorrow's session, and that way we'll get better clarifications, I would say.
Sure.
To
Yeah.
solve this.
It's more than recording, non-recording. No, this thing is distilling all so much of content into 1 hour or something. That is where the actual issue is. Anyway,
Eventually, we run into the proposition of read for intelligence and come back.
okay. Okay. One other question is we are talking about the what of reality. Can you address why of it? Why do jivas exist at all? And why have such specific characters? What's God motivation plan if such things exist for jivas? Very good question. See, the why question, okay, let me just read that question. The question is we are talking about the what of reality, but not the why of it. Why do jivas exist at all? And why have they such specific characteristics?
Why do I
Now,
exist?
why do I exist, or why do jiva exist? Why does jiva exist in general? See, one thing that is to be noted is, a lot of us make this mistake. The why question only arises uh, if there is, see, causality only arises if something has started, something is time bound. If something did not exist at some point in time and came into existence at some other point in time, we ask causal questions because the definition of causality has time embedded into it. Why question only comes up if something started. Jivas exist and they were never created. So the why question does not exist there at all because the very concept of anadi is not bounded with time. And therefore, the question of why jivas exist does not make sense because if they came into existence at a point in time and existence was not there in some other point in time, the causal question comes up. This why question does not even come up. Okay. But if you're asking about the rationale of what is the point of all this, I sort of talked about it yesterday already. The point of all this is to be ourselves. That's it. Okay, we have been tainted with the prakriti sambandha for eternity, and the point of all this is to just be ourselves. That's it. Now the other question is, what's God's motivation plan if such a thing jiva exists? I think let me take this idea because this also connects with this swatantriya. There's an extraordinary explanation that is given in Tattvavada Chandrika and Tattva Prakashika on this. No, never have seen something like this. So what the Jaitirtha says is that when we do something, okay, when we act, there can only be 4 motivations for any jiva to act, including Ishvara. Sukha prapti, dukha nivritti, sukhodreka and dukhodreka. There are 4 modes in which we act. The first thing is we act because we want to be happy. We want to get happiness. We go to work, we do something. We a lot of things that we do. We cook because we want to eat, and that we eat because we want to be happy. So people act out of. People act for happiness. That's one mode of action. The second mode of action is people act to avoid sorrow. So the analogy that is given in Shastras is that you get stuck with a thorn in your leg. You remove that. Okay, why? You don't get happiness out of it. You are experiencing sorrow and you want to get rid of that sorrow, and that's why you do it. Now we take medicines when we are sick. Why do we do that? We do that because we are experiencing sorrow and we need to get rid of sorrow. So one mode of action is Sukha Prapti, we act because we want to be happy. 2, the Dukkha Nivritti mode of action, which is we are sorrow and we want to get rid of that sorrow and we act. There is other mode of action, which is the Sukha Udreka action. So we act out of happiness. The example is that, if somebody is playing soccer and they score a goal, they do all kinds of things, right? They dance, they remove their clothes, they do all kinds of things. Why do they do that? Do they seek something from that action? They don't. They do it because they are ecstatic. They do it out of happiness. This is the action that one does out of happiness. This is Sukha Udreka. This is an action that is stemming out of happiness. There is other extreme, which is called the Dukkhodreka action. People cry, right? And people scream when they are unhappy. So you don't cry because you seek something out of that action. You cry because you are unhappy. So that's an action that stems from Dukkha Udreka. So the pravritti, the all actions that everybody does in this universe can be put in one of these 4 buckets. Sukha, the action towards Sukha Prapti, the action towards Dukkha Nivritti, the actions out of Sukhodreka, the actions out of Dukkhodreka. That's it. So if you closely monitor the kind of things that we and everybody around us do, these are the only possible explanations for why people act. Okay? Now, why do we act? Why are we in samsara? Is because we are acting towards happiness. We know that our self is happiness and we are acting towards realizing our own self, which reveals happiness, and our action is towards Sukha Prapti. Now, what is God's motivation in doing all this? Ishvara does not have samsara bandha and he is also happiness, but in infinite magnitude. Ishvara has Ananta Sukha. Instead of saying Ishvara has Ananta Sukha, I should say Ishvara is Ananta Sukha. You see the difference? That's why Acharya says, Yadashesha Gunonnadham. See, the moment we talk of Ishvara, right, we always think of Narayana with a kirita and 4 hands, Shankha Chakra and all that, which is also fine. I have this analogy that I keep giving always, that just like white light has all bandwidths and colors, and all of you are engineers, you understand this. What is the definition of white light? It's an amalgamation of multiple wavelengths of lights, right? You can put a filter at any frequency and get any light of your choice. Just like that, Ishvara has all rupas. You can think of any rupa and Ishvara manifests in that particular rupa. But the abstract way of looking at Ishvara is Yadashesha Gunonnadham Nirdosham Yavadevahi Tavadeva Ishvaro Nama. Ishvara is Ananta Sukha. If Jiva is Sukha and with measurable limited quantities, Ishvara is Ananta Sukha with infinite non-measurable amounts of Sukha. That is Ishvara. It's not that there is Ishvara as a container and there is Sukha onto it. It's not that. Ishvara is Ananta Sukha. Right? It is not a personal God that way. It is also a personal God. See, we are influenced so badly with this semantic experience, semantic ideas that we tend to project those ideas onto our Vaidika Ishvara. But our understanding of Ishvara is that Ishvara is an abstract idea of Ananta Sukha. While we ourselves, Jivas, are happiness, Ishvara is the extension of it. Now, since Ishvara is Ananta Sukha, the Taittiriya Upanishad says, Kohyevanyat Kafpranyat Yadesha Akashaha Anando Nasyat. This is a subject of Anandamayadhikarana in Brahma Sutra as well. Now, Ishvara has overflowing and overwhelming amounts of happiness that he acts out of happiness. He has no motivation. He has nothing to do while he does all this vyapara of universe. He acts out of happiness. Now, a soccer player removes his clothes and dances and walks around and does all kinds of things when he is ecstatic. Ishvara does Srishti Sthiti Samhara Niyamana Jnana and all that out of happiness. That is it. Okay, there is no motivation. Now, there is Karunya because, he or she, Ishvara, could have just, as they say today, chilled, because there is ecstatic happiness. What is the need to look at us as Jivas and give us an opportunity to realize ourselves? It's because Ishvara possesses Ananta Karunya. When he acts out of his ecstatic happiness, we benefit out of it. Okay, so there is no motivation for Ishvara to do anything, because the idea of motivation only arises if you are acting for happiness. If you are acting out of happiness, we don't need any motivation. So why does a soccer player dances? What is the motivation for him to dance when after he scored the goal? There is no motivation. He acts out of happiness. Okay. Yeah. So Acharya Madhva says, Jiva Pikarta. Can you explain this? I have explained that itself in this 1 hour, right? Jiva is Karta. Jnana Ichha Prayatna is the Kartata, and Jiva is Karta. That is why Acharya says Jiva Pikarta. Right? Jiva possesses desire and happiness, desire and the ability to think and act. That is what the idea is. Now we have to place. Okay, it's 9:10 already. Can we extend for 10 more minutes, or should we stop today?
We can extend that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe 10 more minutes. I'll talk about the idea of Swatantra, and then we close for today. Okay. Now, everything, yeah, as somebody asked, no, Naham Karta, Harit Karta, what is this idea of Swatantra then? Okay. Here is the idea of Swatantra. I told you that we as Jivas can desire, we as Jivas can act, correct? Or rather, we are Jivas, and we are action, and we are our thoughts, and we are our desires. But did I tell you that our desires and actions always lead to fruitful outcomes? Now, it's a common experience that most of the times our desires and actions do not lead to fruitful outcomes. There is no paraspara anuvidhaitva, meaning that we desire that I should be the president of whatever, right, United States or India, Prime Minister of India or whatever, but that's our desire, that's us, that's we. But do we get there? We don't. Okay. Now this is what Aswatantra is all about. We can desire, but we can't control the outcome of our desires. We can act, but we can't control the outcome of our actions. See, if some of you have studied this, right, there is this huge literature compiled by Greek authors, medieval Greek authors by name Stoics, right? Marcus Aurelius and these people, right? It's called Stoicism. It's very, very similar to what Acharya says. Okay, there is you cannot control anything outside of you. That's exactly what Aswatantra is. Ishvara is Swatantra. What does this mean? This means, and also we say that that everything tena vina trinam api na chalati, right? So it's like this. Acharya says, Dravyam karma cha kalascha subhavo jiva evacha yadanugrahatas santi nasanti adupekshaya. For us to be ourselves, we need Ishvara. What does this mean? That we can think, right? Now, to power this thinking process, we need Ishvara. For us to be us, we need Ishvara. Now, this may sound surprising and perplexing. What do you mean to say that for you to be yourself, you need Ishvara? So I am trained as an electrical engineer, at least till my undergrad days, and I have a great analogy that I've come up with for this to understand this. See, there's electricity and there are electrical loads. Okay, so what are electrical loads? And you have lights, and I see a fan there, and you have ovens and all other electrical appliances that you connect to an electrical source. Okay, now it is the same electrical source that powers all these devices. Let's take a fan and a bulb, let's say an LED bulb, right? If powered by an electrical source, an LED bulb glows. If a servo motor or a rotating motor is powered by the same electrical source, that rotates. Now, does this electrical source influence how the load has to perform when it is connected across it? No, because it is the ability of a motor to rotate. It is the innate ability of an LED bulb to glow when powered. Now this is a jiva, so you should put a jiva in the position of an electrical load. So they have ability to think. So when I am powered by Ishvara, I think the way I think because I am thinking. When you are powered by Ishvara, you think the way you think. Now, but for me to think or me to be myself, I need Ishvara's powering. And for you to think the way you think, you need Ishvara's powering. So this is what Asvatantra is all about. Now, does electricity influence the fact that that a motor rotates and a bulb glows when it is powered? No, it does not. It is completely unbiased and has no influence in the way the load operates. In the exact same way, Ishvara powers me or Ishvara powers Vayudeva, the exact same way he powers Duryodhana as well. But when powered by Ishvara, Bhima acts the way his Swabhava is or he is, and Duryodhana acts the way that he is. Very classic example is the following, right? Krishna showed his Vishwarupa to two different people. He showed it to Arjuna and he showed it to Duryodhana. Arjuna said, "Oh, hey Krishna, hey Madhava, hey Saketi," right? Or he said, "Oh, I'm so sorry that I mistook you for my friend," and he showed so much of bhakti. That's his Swabhava. And Duryodhana said, "I've seen a lot of these kinds of tricks. Just go home." And he started to imprison him. So this is Swabhava. This is Jiva. So it is Duryodhana acted the way he is, and Arjuna acted the way that he is. But Ishvara powered them both. Dravyam karmacha kalascha swabhavo jiva evacha yadanugrahatas santi nasanti yadupekshaya. If electricity decides that I won't power a load, no matter what abilities you possess to rotate or to glow, you cannot do anything because there is no power. So this is Asvatantriya. Now, does this take away free will? Does the fact that a load is dependent on electricity to get the power take away the ability of a motor to rotate when it is under the influence of power? No. Okay, it is this Swabhava, it is the innate nature of a load to do whatever it is supposed to do in accordance with its Swabhava. That is Jiva's free will, that is Jiva's Kartrita. The fact that an electrical load cannot do anything if you do not have a potential difference across it is his Asvatantriya. Now the next question is, does Ishvara stop powering a Jiva? Thankfully, no. The Shruti says that Ishvara does not stop powering a Jiva, and that's where his Karunya lies in. And why does he do it? He does it out of his ecstasy. And Jiva is powering Jiva, Ishvara is powering Jiva from Anadikala. I mean, again, language fails, right? If I say from Anadikala, it already sounds like, oh, something started at some point in time. No, Ishvara has been powering Jiva for eternity, and he will power the Jiva for eternity. Now, this is what the idea of Asvatantra, Stena vina trunamapina chalati is what we say, right? This is what it is. Without electricity, there is no load in this universe. Correct? That's correct. But does electricity influence the load? No, it does not. So that is why Shastras, see, whatever I am saying is also the subject of a very famous Adhikarana in Brahma Sutra by name Vaishamanyarhinya Adhikarana. See, there is also this question, no, that if Ishvara does everything, where is the fairness? It's completely fair because it's not electricity or potential differences mistake or rather responsibility that a motor rotates and a bulb glows. The job of electricity is just to power all of it. In fact, it is such a beautiful analogy that I've realized that you power all devices across the same 220 volt socket. I mean, I don't know, it's 110 volts in the US, right? Yeah, here it is 220 volts. So you connect all devices across the exact same potential difference socket, right? But depending upon what is the capability of a load, you can draw that power. You have the Ohm's law, right? I is equal to V by R. So V is Ishvara and R is Jiva. The amount of power that is dissipated across the Jiva depends upon the amount of Swabhava or Yogyata that a Jiva has. That is why Same Antaryami exists in Bhimasena's heart and also our heart. We are very small, some 10 volts or 10 watts wattage small bulb, and we draw only that much of power. But Bhimasena can draw a lot of power because that's his ability. So the resistance is not resistance. You can, yeah. So it's too large or too low, and that is why a lot of power is drawn. So that is why Shastras talk about Ishvara as Udasina Vadasinam. There is absolutely no Vaishamya. Because Ishvara has nothing to do with Jiva Swabhava. He has nothing to do with the way we think. He just powers us and makes us be ourselves. That's it. Right? So one question that now comes, that is remaining is, if everything is Bhagavad Adhina in the sense that he's Swatantra, can't he change the way a Jiva think? The answer is yes, he can. Otherwise, the Sarva Shaktata of Ishvara will go away, but he won't, is the answer. He can. The question is not that whether he can or can't. He can, but he doesn't. Okay, I'll talk about it tomorrow because that actually takes us. I mean, it requires at least a good 1 hour to talk about it. Now we also answered this Naham Karta, Harih Karta. Right? That also that actually means that Naham Swatantra Karta. It is only saying that I do, but for me to be myself, I need Ishvara's powering. Dravyam karma chakalascha swabhavo jiva evacha edanugrahatas santi. So Ishvara can, in a snap of his thought, make us not exist. It's just like pulling the plug from a load, no? So you can be the greatest load or greatest refrigerator that is designed on earth. If you do not get electricity, you are nothing. For you to be yourself, we need Ishvara's powering. So that is what Naham Karta's Harik Karta talks about. In fact, the Vyakhyanakaras actually talk about when they do Vyakhya of that particular shloka, they say that this is not saying that Jiva does not have Kartata. It is, Acharya says, right, Jiva Kartratvam, as somebody said, Jivopi Karta. It's very, very important that Jiva does possess Kartata. Okay, so now I think we answered all the questions that we raised in the beginning of this discussion. Right? So Jivas are responsible for their own actions because Jivas are their desires, Jivas are their thought processes. And that's why they are Kartas. Now, they are Aswatantra because our desires do not lead to our the desired outcomes, and that's, we cannot control that. And the other angle to look at Aswatantra is that for ourselves to be ourselves, we need Ishvara's powering, and that's where Satta, Pravritti, Pramiti Rupa Satta Trayeshu, or Sarupa, Pravritti, Pramiti Rupa Satta Tratayeshu, Para Adhinatvam Aswatantram is the definition given by Sri Jaitirtha in Tattvasankhya Tika, and that this is how it has to be interpreted, is my understanding. That's why there is no conflict between Jivas being Kartas and Jivas being Aswatantra. In fact, all this is is actually a subject to our day-to-day experiences. We know that we can think. We know that nobody is influencing on our thinking. We can desire, we can think. But we also know that our desires and thought processes does not lead to desired outcomes. Okay. But one thing that is not a subject to our experience is that we don't experience Ishvara's powering because our sadhana is not matured yet. It is said that Jnani, people who have realized, no, these people actually experience Ishvara's powering also. We are the stupid load who thinks that we are rotating independently and there is no power. Because our sadhana is not matured. In fact, it is said so much that the Jnanis actually see Ishvara powering themselves when they are doing actions. If the sadhana goes to that level of maturity. Yeah, so if my swabhava is trending tamasic and God cannot but doesn't intervene, am I doomed for eternity? See, the very fact that you are sitting here, the hope is that we are all not tamasic, right? So Acharya says that in one of his things. We'll discuss it. See, this question I had when I was a kid, when I was first exposed to all this, I almost went to borderline depression thinking of this question. That what if my swabhava is bad, right? No, but yeah, there is a respite. We don't have to worry too much, right? In fact, even if once you even remotely you talk about the swatantrya of Ishvara, you are not tamasic is what Acharya says. Okay. Yatatopi hareh padasamsmarane sakalam hyagamashullayam vrajati is Dvadasha Stotra. So don't be so don't go to disparity. We have a lot of hope. If he doesn't control our thinking, why do we ask Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayat? Great question. 9:30 already. We have to stop somewhere. Okay. Yaha naha dhiyaha prachodayat. The answer is there in that very mantra. What is prachodana? Prachodana is powering. Right? So the one who powers the way we think, let us bow down to that particular powering agent is what Gayatri Mantra is all about. Bhargo devasya dhimahi, right? Saviturvarenyam bhargo devasya dhimahi. Bharga is actually the source of power. In fact, it is taken to be as the Savitri mantra, right? The solar Surya mantra also. Surya in the Surya in the physical world, it is Surya or the sun is the source of all energy. It's a very apt analogy actually. Does sun influence the way a particular load operates in our home? It does not, but it does in the sense that everything is powered by sun. Okay, so that's what the Gayatri mantra is talking about. Dhiyo yonah prachodayat. Since every jiva strives to reach its true state, there comes a time concept here, right? After infinite time. See, you can't say after infinite time. There is no after infinite time. There is no after infinity. Infinite, the very idea of infinite time is that it does not end. That's it. All jivas should have realized their true self and experience happiness, right? Okay. Not after infinite time, after a particular time. So for instance, no, Acharya says that after the kalpa, the end of Brahma kalpa, all the jivas that are srishtas in this particular kalpa will attain their self. But jivas are infinite in number as well. New set of jivas comes into srishti and this cycle continues. Dhata yatha purma. This keeps continuing. Definitely would have realized ourselves. Let us stop here. I mean, I can go on and on, but yeah. So I think somewhere we should stop. And I hope today was meaningful to all of you. So Matrerakena Harina, Ya Puja Swasyakarita, Vagidya Rupaha Lakshmi Shaha, Taya Prinat Keshavaha, Uttesha Namastu. Okay, so we'll reconvene tomorrow morning.
Good idea. So, like every session has been ending with the Devad Namas. Today too.
Oh, I thought you would do it in the beginning today. Anyway, doesn't matter.
As a group, we did the Tattvavada Bhajana before the session, so we saved Pavamana for the end. And so, good. That's
ಶರಣೈ ಮೊದಲಾದ ನವವಿಧ ಭಕುತಿಯ ಕವ ಕರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಕೊಡು ಕವಿ ಜನಪ್ರಿಯ ಪವಮಾನ ಪವಮಾನ ಜಗನ್ನಾಥ ಶಂಕರು ಶರಣ ಭವಭಯರಣ್ಯ
Thank you all for joining today's session. So officially we conclude the series here, but tomorrow's session will be completely Q&A, and we will not be recording it. So please do join tomorrow's session as well. I extend the series to tomorrow in the same meeting ID, same password. So please do join. Thank you all. Krishna Prabhu.
Yes. Hare Srinivas. Krishna Namaste.
For all.